Welcome to the Dumb Idea Podcast Show with Mike and Alex. We thank you for joining us as we have a couple of beers and a cigar and talk about what's going on in our lives. Grab an adult beverage and a smoke and settle in with us. Please like, subscribe, and comment on each show so we can hear whether you agree or disagree with our take on things. Listen wherever your favorite podcasts are and at www.dumbideapodcast.com. All right, so this is a topic we've kind of avoided in the past. Some may say it's controversial, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. But we got, for our kids' school, we got a letter from the superintendent basically saying that they are going to require masks in schools for all levels of school. So K through 12, they all have to wear masks. Teachers have to wear masks. Administrators, everyone has to wear masks. There's very few exceptions. I think they don't have to wear it when they're outside at recess, which is nice. Well, I shouldn't say outside activities. They didn't say recess. I think they were aiming it more toward the middle school and high school.
They actually go outside for gym or what, things like that.
I think they were talking more about sports.
Yeah.
But they left it fairly vague where I think elementary school principals can say no masks out at recess.
Right.
So I think the question becomes, there's a big debate of whether masks work or whether they don't work. I see both sides of it. The superintendent said he was using input from the county health director.
Okay.
And I can only assume, I mean, the guy's got the DR in front of his name, so I'm assuming he knows, he's got more information than I do about whether masks work or don't. But I will say this, in the state of Maryland that we're in, we've been maskless for, about 3 months now?
Yeah.
Throughout. I mean, no more masks in business, out and about, don't have to wear it. They just recently instituted masks in county buildings only.
Yep.
So not even in businesses again. So, and I get it right now. I mean, they're talking about the Delta variant, and they're saying how infections are going up. But the other thing they're not saying is whether the infection, the Delta variant positives are they getting worse, or are the symptoms worse than the first three variants?
Yeah,
or are they lesser? I mean, is this Delta variant as strong or as harmful as the first three variants?
So what I've heard about it so far, and most of my focus has been listening to like what it is for vaccinated, because the whole vaccination message has been an absolute disaster.
Yeah.
It was a disaster since before the election, and again, the politicization. I'm massacring that one.
It's a word. It's good.
Yeah, is kind of just, it's like it does with everything else. It's just destroying the messages, getting muddled and mixed, because you had Kamala Harris and Joe Biden saying they would never Andrew Cuomo, I guess.
Yeah.
Mario was his dad. Saying how they would never take a vaccine that Trump developed. Like we said before, like Trump was in the lab mixing this stuff up.
Yeah. Dr. Trump.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden, so they put that out to be in the beginning, and now all of a sudden now they're trying to get people to take it. Well, of course you're going to have some resistance. And there are other reasons that people are resistant to it anyway. But I got my shot, so I said, let me see what this is for me, especially because it started in the summertime where the kids aren't in school. And but the thing with it is because now they're talking about breakthrough infections, and I think Lindsey Graham just came down with a breakthrough infection. He said he felt like he had a sinus infection. Other than that, he's fine.
Yep.
So if that's what it is, then okay, it's not going to kill me. So I've been pretty sick before, but all right. Like if that's what Delta is,
right.
But the thing is, they love to talk about cases, and it's like the fear porn. They love to talk about the cases, and the cases are up, and there's a spike in this. But I think the really true metric you need to look at is hospitalizations and deaths. And I think When I just checked it before we started talking, the running 7-day average for the state of Maryland is like 4.
Right.
So 4 deaths.
Comparing that to like the first variants, it was like in the hundreds.
Yeah.
So something that had a 99.5% survival rate before now you're not even out of the 99.9 percentile.
Oh yeah,
So, and you're right. It's the fear porn.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, how long can we control the hearts and minds with this thing? When, in the state of Maryland, we're over 70% adults vaccinated.
Yeah.
We're considered herd immunity at this point.
Yeah, and even when you look at the among the vulnerable population, that vaccination rate's even higher.
Yep.
And that's who was being killed by it to begin with.
Right.
You had your outliers and you had your anomalies and you had your anecdotal cases where it was a young person, but generally it was the people above 65, and that population has really responded well to the vaccination effort, and they're doing, I think they're at 90% vaccinated.
Yeah.
So if Delta is, if they're worried about the breakthrough, the vaccine is still effective because not only is it, it doesn't prevent you from getting it, but it makes your symptoms a lot less.
And they've always said that. They've said that's what the vaccine is. They said, look, it might not prevent you from getting COVID, but it will definitely reduce your symptoms, because essentially what this mRNA vaccine is doing is it's getting your body to acknowledge what this virus is. So that way, when you do get the virus, it's ready to fight.
Yeah, it's got the round in the chamber. It's ready to go.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it doesn't have to figure out what it is, find out that it's a virus, find out that it's harming your body, and then try to fight it.
Yeah.
No, it knows what's up.
Yeah.
And is now fighting for you the minute you get it. But and I think I've never been a big fan of Lindsey Graham. I think the guy kind of speaks out of both sides of his mouth a lot of the time.
Oh yeah.
However, I think his messaging with this was correct. It was, look, I got my vaccine. I got COVID.
Yeah.
My symptoms aren't that bad.
Yeah.
And I'm okay. And that's why you should go get the vaccine.
Yeah.
I think right now the message should be, go get the vaccine. And I think you've got a lot of politicians that say that. Now, you got some that say, look, if you're under 20 or if you're under 30, you probably don't need it. And I don't think that's the good messaging. I think if you're able to go get it, you should go get it.
Right. It's widely available. You can go anywhere and get it. It's 100% free. So if you can do it, go do it. Now, there are people that don't trust vaccines.
Right.
There's
always that population.
Right.
Those people aren't getting any of the vaccines.
Yeah. And I get it. I get the distrust. And it did come out quick. But, like I said, I haven't turned into a zombie yet. So maybe later on I will. I don't know.
Hey.
But if there's, I'll tell you what, zombie apocalypse, I want to be the OG zombie.
Right.
Who wants to live through all that?
Listen,
just be a zombie first.
# zombie life. Listen, put bumper stickers in your car. Instead of salt life, it'd be zombie life.
Yeah.
There's enough of those salt life stickers around.
Oh, yeah.
Virtue. We can go back to virtue signaling. We see you people. We get it. You go to the beach. All right.
Yeah, salt life. Even worse on a Jeep.
Oh, right.
But the thing is with the kids, and is it worth? So my kids hate the mask. They hate it. Now when my wife said, well, people complained about not going to school at all, and now we're going to school with masks, and people are complaining about that. So I get it, and I'll stand right here and say, yeah, I'm one of those guys who's complaining about it, because I don't know if they do anything. Is it worth breathing in your own stinky air for what?
Right.
And if we're doing it because it's doing something and it's actually effective, it's reducing spread. Okay, I can see it, but I don't think anyone knows if it actually does work. Like if I put something across my face that I invented, I cut a T-shirt up. Like when it first started, I used the sleeves of T-shirts as a neck gaiter. Well, apparently the neck gaiters are the worst thing ever. And people say, well, those are worse than wearing nothing at all. I still don't understand the logic behind that.
That's because it's not true.
Yeah, but
a neck gaiter still was better than wearing nothing at all.
But and the thing is, I worked in a hospital when I was in college, and we had to get fitted for N95s, and you have to get fitted for it. It's not like something. Now the ones you buy at Home Depot to keep like the drywall dust out of your nose, they're the same thing. If the fit's not perfect, okay, it's a little bit of drywall dust. But if you're actually going to be using it in a medical setting, they're fitted for you. They have different sizes. They're fitted a certain way. You're taught how to put it on so it stays on your face the right way. The surgical masks are the same thing. They're not as stringent. But, if it's something that one of these masks that you get from Amazon, the 2-layer mask, and you cut one of them out. Not that I know anyone that's done that. But, are they doing anything?
Or you got it from Jeannie in the next neighborhood over who started her own COVID face mask business.
Yeah, just sewing masks together.
I'm sure that prevented the disease from getting through. Or I'm sure that stopped you from spreading it. Right? That's the big thing. It doesn't stop you from getting it, but it stops you from spreading it.
Right.
Because when you sneeze, your goo and bits don't go 20 feet in front of you. Now it just goes 10 feet in front of you. So everyone from 10 to 20 feet out from you, you're great.
But if you're in the kill zone. It's like a hand grenade.
Or if you sneeze on something in a Rite Aid and they don't have that UV lighting to kill the germs, next person up, there you go. Although they say it doesn't survive on surface.
Well,
I don't know.
And that's the other thing that, during school last year, there's no school on Wednesday, so they could go and decontaminate everything. But they eliminated surface contamination as a vector of transmission pretty early into this thing.
Right.
Yet they were still doing it. How much now were they still doing it because they had already signed these contracts? Were they still doing it because they'd already bought all the stuff to do it?
Those backpack atomizer companies made a whole lot of money.
Oh yeah, and I watched. We were in line at CVS to pick up we were in the drive-through line, and to pick up some a prescription. And the lady ahead of us, I guess she did a COVID test in her car, which that line took forever. But they had the little box on the side of the building to put the test sample in. She wipes the whole thing down with these sanitizing wipes and then sticks it in there and then wipes it all down again. I'm like, that was eliminated as a vector transmission a long time ago, yet here we are still doing it. And are we still doing it because it needs to be done? Are we doing it because it makes you feel better?
Makes you feel better.
But then at that point, if you're just doing it because you're doing something, then what's the point? It's almost like we want our politicians, our government, to just do something, even if what we're doing is stupid.
Well, it's the whole thing of like, there's the new virus, and you need to make it go away.
Yeah,
I hate to break it to people, but it doesn't look like this. This virus is going to run through the many iterations of virus. Mm-hmm. You got the first one that came through. Now, we can all discuss how and when it came through and if it was even a viable virus to come from an animal directly to a human. If you haven't heard of Brett Weinstein, I thoroughly implore you to check out who he is and what he's been talking about. He's been on the Joe Rogan podcast. Not that that's like definitive news, but the guy's been on there and he's quite informative on viruses. That's what he studies. That being said, viruses will mutate once you figure out something that kills them. It's a living thing.
It's just like the flu.
But the thing, generally, though, the more contagious they end up getting, generally the less powerful they get. Is that the right word I'm looking for? Essentially, it's like it'll do less harm the more it mutates, just because it wants to stay alive. Mm-hmm. Whereas if it stays strong, we're still going to try and go after it and kill it.
Yeah.
So what it kind of, the evolution of that virus is it generally should get less strength over time, right. Even if it gets what's more catchy? I don't even know the word.
More transmissible, yes, more contagious.
Yeah, contagious. That's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
So, by the way, listening to how we talk about this should probably, it's going to tell you how definitive our information is.
Right.
All right.
It's the catchy virus.
Yeah. Like Mike says, this is the Dumb Idea podcast. If you're getting your medical advice from this,
please stop.
Yeah. Just don't. Yeah. No definitive information should be gathered from this podcast.
Was it the South Park disclaimer.
Yeah.
All celebrity impressions are done poorly.
Right.
Should not be viewed by anyone.
Yeah. I do not have a DR before, after, in the middle of my name, nor do I have a PhD or any other letters to signify that I'm a smart individual. So just don't take information from me like it's like the gospel.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have a D or an R anywhere in my name at all. So
I barely passed biology in high school, but I listen real well.
but you know, and the thing is with the masks in school, like I saw it and I immediately started grumbling, and my wife, again, she said, hey, at least they're going back.
Yeah, I'm happy with the 5 days back in school. I don't think the masks for the kids are going to do much. I get it from the teacher's standpoint of making them feel safer in the schools. But everyone's always said it's not going to stop you from getting it.
No.
So but I guess they're saying this the Delta version and maybe even the Lambda version, which, by the way, the Lambda version's already been named. It's coming.
No, what about the Epsilon version?
Is that one coming too?
I don't know. Let's just do the whole Greek alphabet.
I've heard of Lambda. I haven't heard Epsilon. But the teachers, I'm sure, needed some kind of reassurance going back. Because, look, they're human too. This thing is scary for some. So maybe having the masks on kids. I don't think it's going to be masked all year round. I think we're going to start off with masks. I think everyone's going to kind of feel like, okay, things are all right. And then I think probably halfway through the year, you probably see masks go the way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, though, we could be in for a rough winter. Now, you know, with more people walking around without masks, I mean, people forgot about the flu last year because the flu really wasn't around much because people weren't around each other.
Yeah.
You can't pass what you don't catch.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I think you're going to have a lot of scares with the people getting the flu, thinking it's COVID, because you know every symptom is COVID related.
Well, no, I mean, and the list of COVID symptoms just kept growing. Like it started out like no taste, no sense of smell, fever, and then it ended up like no taste, no sense of smell, fever, cough, dry throat, sneezing, nausea, diarrhea. I'm like, that sounds like a Saturday morning to me. Like,
it like turned into a pill commercial.
Yeah.
Side effects to include. Right. And they list like every human possible thing.
Right.
And like I said, and then we talked about this in another podcast, and then they came out with the catch-all. You might not have any symptoms at all.
Right.
And have COVID.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, man, I feel perfectly healthy today. I should go get my COVID test.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Like, yo, if you don't have symptoms, you're good.
Right. Like if the car's not making a noise and there are no lights on, I'm not taking it to the mechanic.
Right.
You know, so this to go and say, and that was one, and then you got into your asymptomatic spread. And then, you know, I think they kind of determined pretty early on that that kids really weren't affected by it.
They were, well, kids weren't spreading it.
Yeah, but then
if kids got it, it wasn't.
But then they kept pointing to the Israeli situation. They said, "Oh well, they opened schools and the kids all spread it around, and that really wasn't happening, but it was convenient."
Right.
Because I think some people want this thing to stay away. They like it, and I think there are people all throughout, just all walks of life, whether they're public health officials that like this because it gets them some form of notoriety, whether it's people that just like to be afraid of something. If you think about it, we've lived in relative comfort. The big red menace is gone. Like, our parents had the threat of nuclear annihilation. That was you needed to be afraid of. You had that to worry about. There's always been, and prior to that, going through like our grandparents and stuff, like they had actual legit famine to deal with. Like there was a chance they could starve to death. And going further and further back, you fall off a horse and break your leg and you die.
Yep.
But now we're at the point where we're in relative comfort, and I think some people like having something to be afraid of, and they like this thing to be here. It allows them an excuse to stay in their house and be a hermit. Which, hey, you know what? That has its benefits.
Yeah, but I think that does play a part of it, right? People have been afraid to leave their houses.
Yeah.
And one of she's not a girl, she's a lady now, but she was a girl when I went to high school. I went to high school with her. She's an ardent Democrat. Probably closer to that the Bernie side of things, almost a socialist, right? Yeah. And she made the point, and we've talked about this before, where during the pandemic, $4 billion of wealth went from the middle and lower classes to the upper 1%. Mm-hmm. It was one of the largest transfers of wealth going in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
And even she was like, there's big money for that 1% to keep us hold up even longer.
Yeah.
And the funny part, she even made the point where she's like, and what did they do with that money? It was the big kid space race.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jeff Bezos with his
launched himself
phallic
into space
symbol.
with a giant penis, like Dr. Evil.
Right. And Richard Branson did the same thing.
Yeah.
Elon Musk has been doing it for years. Now, I don't think Elon's in that group. I mean, don't get me wrong, the guy's a multi-billionaire, but I don't think he's in that group. I think he's doing it for altruistic reasons.
Yeah. But, I mean, his company, SpaceX, is actually
doing NASA's work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas the other dummies are doing it for
kicks.
For what do they call it? Space tourism.
Well, yeah. Well, it's like back in the 20s when all the rich guys were building their own airplanes.
Yeah.
Like Howard Hughes flying around on airplanes that he built. Like it's just that's the version of that.
But for anyone to think that there's no incentive for the political elite and the 1% that probably manage more than we know to keep us holed up when there was a $4 billion transfer of wealth in 1 year.
Yeah.
To them. Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe they thought, during the first, maybe during the latter Obama years and the early Trump years, maybe there was too much money going back the other way with some rising wages and whatnot. Maybe they didn't like that. They're like, wait a minute, hold on, whoa, peasants.
Yeah.
I gotta recoup some of this money. Coronavirus.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Everyone be scared
right.
and stay home.
And use Amazon a lot.
Yeah. A lot of Amazon, a lot of streaming. Well, the streaming services that kicked off.
Reed Hastings, Reed Hastings, the Disney people. Boy, that streaming service came out right at the right time.
Yeah, yeah, no
good,
shit.
Great timing, guys. Bet you didn't see it. Oh, you did. You did see it coming.
Yeah.
Okay, wait a minute. All right. I mean, think about it. For Disney, what was the better way to catch up to Netflix?
Oh,
than to have a pandemic where everyone had to stay home.
Yeah.
And you just happen to launch your streaming service.
Right.
And you were giving it away for like $5 for like the first 6 months, and then you jack the price up on everybody.
Yeah.
And everyone's still, and no one's canceling.
Yeah. Giving it away, and then, launch stuff like The Mandalorian. Buy up all the stuff. Like they own all the Simpsons now.
I listened to their earnings call the other day. Shows what kind of a nerd I am. Every once in a while, I like to listen to some earnings calls because I want to see where I'm going to put my money. Mm-hmm. And the revenue from the streaming service almost made up for them closing down their amusement parks.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Like, they lost out on gate revenue and hotel revenue.
Yep.
Lots of it.
Yeah, concessions, parking.
A lot.
They charge you out the nose for everything you do down there.
Lot.
So.
And, by the way, here's the streaming service numbers. Cha-ching!
Yeah.
Like, wow. that brought you a lot of... I wonder... Think about it. When you open the amusement parks back up, that money comes back too.
Yeah.
You're going to be rolling in it.
Yeah.
You're already rolling in it, but you're going to be rolling in more of it. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, wow. And like, I don't know, man. Like, I'm not a big conspiracy theorist believer, but I hear them and I'm like, there might be some merit there.
Yeah, there might be a thread of truth somewhere buried in that one.
I think I've got too much faith in people to think that there actually some conspiracy theory behind some of this. Like, I definitely think the virus is real. I think people should get the vaccine. I'm not that level of conspiracy theorist, but I definitely think that there were people that knew how to take advantage of a situation.
Well, it was Brett Weinstein actually on Rogan talked about that there was no vast conspiracy, but there was a confluence.
Right.
And you had a whole bunch of different things that just kind of like, if you were in the right place at the right time, you could be right where it all came together to just cash in on it. And I think that there are a lot of people there, and I don't think there's a vested interest for people to die from anyone, but I think there's a vested interest in keeping it going and keeping people afraid of it.
Well, think about, even going back to like World War I and World War II, you had American businessmen playing both sides of the war.
Oh yeah,
just so they were on the winning side, because they were playing both sides. So whoever came out on top, guess what? They still had business.
Yeah.
So I don't put it past the old timey business types like Rockefellers and like the Ford family.
Yeah.
The Ford family was building vehicles for the U.S. and allies, and also for Nazi Germany.
Well,
known fact.
It reminds me of The Simpsons. Always has something relevant to any conversation. But Mr. Burns was making a movie. He wanted to win the Springfield Film Festival, and he wanted to hire Spielberg, but he wasn't available, so he hired Steven Spielbergo, and he wants to make a movie that's a knockoff of Schindler's List. And Mr. Burns said, "What's so great about him? We both made shells for the Nazis, except mine worked." but there's always someone that's going to be playing both sides, right, and making money off of the situation, regardless of how they can do it.
But that's what, like you said, but to your point was, you don't think someone would knock off a couple million people to make a buck? Mm-hmm. Like, I think there's some people out there that might do that. Yeah. I'm not saying that happened right now.
Yeah.
But to think that there's big business types that aren't nefarious enough to drop a couple million people off this earth for their own benefit, I think people are pretty naive.
If you look at it like this one, there's no kids,
Right. There's just people.
Yeah.
Just adults.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Older ones.
It was right. It was
had
older
a good
ones.
run.
What did you not get knocked off the life by 3-4 years?
Yeah. But
all right.
But with the kids, like, are these masks harmful to them? They don't like them. I know they don't like them, because I don't like them. So, but I've been trying to be better. I used to refer to my mask as my stupid mask, and then one of my kids was like, "Daddy, I don't have a stupid mask." It's like, I should probably stop doing that.
They're listening,
yeah,
all the time. Now, yeah, I don't like wearing the mask. And it's probably that situation where, yes, I'm capitulating to the people who are scared. Mm-hmm. I'm wearing the mask for them. I'm not wearing it for me. I'm wearing it so I don't get yelled at or confronted.
Yeah.
Basically, I just don't want to deal with it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I want to go out. I got to go out to Rite Aid and I got to pick up some allergy medicine. I don't need Jenny from the block.
Yeah.
Ripping into me.
Mask shaming you.
Right. I mean, look, I had a situation where this older lady, this has nothing to do with masks or anything, but it goes to the point where someone doesn't mind interjecting themselves into your life for a minute. So we were getting dropped off at a ferry, and my cousin was dropping us off, and they've got a Jeep. And so we get out of the Jeep, we got to get our stuff out of the back. Door opens like a barn door, right? All right. Well, this lady pulls up behind us, like super close, and we can't open the door. So I look in the window. It's like, hey, would you mind moving back a little bit? And she doesn't. Mm-hmm. So I open the door anyway.
Yeah.
I was like, well, you're gonna move back because you knew you shouldn't have done this to begin with. And I got to get my stuff out. We got to catch a boat. Mm-hmm. So I open it up, and I start getting the stuff out. She gets out of her car with her friend or whoever she's dropping off. Mind you, she's leaving her car in a drop-off zone. Mm-hmm. Can't do that. You're not supposed to be doing that. So she lost the moral authority right there anyway. Yeah. And she goes, you catch more bees with honey I said, actually, you catch more flies with honey. And, oh, by the way, I didn't ask.
Yeah.
I said, I got to get my stuff out. You shouldn't have parked that close. Thanks for the information.
Yeah.
I didn't need to hear from you. Mm-hmm. And, like, I felt bad because she's probably in her 70s or so.
Yeah.
But butt out.
Yeah. No one asked you.
I'm a grown ass human being.
Yeah.
Trying to get my kids and my wife somewhere. We're in the right. You're in the wrong, and you decide you want to pipe up.
Yeah.
No,
go
away.
I think part of it is some people just like being dicks. Yeah. And if they can, if they can mask shame you, if they can do what, they're going to do it. I mean, think of the people that call the police for nonsense. The party's too loud. And is it really too loud, or are you just being a dick? Is this situation really bothering you? Does the fact that someone doesn't have a mask on 30 feet away from you you had to go and walk up to that, you had to approach that person. If you were that afraid of it, you wouldn't be in their grill complaining about them not wearing a mask. But I think some people just enjoy, it gives them an excuse to be a dick.
Well, it was like, so up at the little shopping plaza we got, when they repainted it and they made the row closest to the doors one way. Mm-hmm. And I went down the wrong way. I know, I was the jerk, whatever, I get it. Happened once.
Yeah.
And I stopped to let a lady cross the street. So I'm not a complete jerk.
Right.
I'm not plowing people over. I'm stopping like I should. She goes by, as she's walking by, she looks in the window. And she gives the head shake. She gives the head shake.
Yeah.
Like, you shouldn't be doing that.
Right.
She gives the head shake. And I just kind of like throw up my hands like, whatever, lady. Now, it turns out we're both going into the pizza shop. Mm-hmm. So I see her in there. And she looked at me. You could tell she was like, oh, boy.
Yeah.
And she looked at me and said, I saw you looking. I said, and I really don't care. I go, who are you to be shaking your head at me for going the wrong way? Like, I get it. I was wrong. Shouldn't have been doing it. But
yeah.
Didn't need your judgmentalness all up in me. Mm-hmm. And she's like, well, you shouldn't have been doing it. I said, I know. I just said that.
Yeah.
I said, I stopped to let you go. Yeah, I wasn't plowing people down. I was trying to be careful. I went the wrong way. Mm-hmm. My bad.
Yeah.
It's like, but you apparently thought you were high and mighty. Like, it's like, look, can no one make a mistake today?
No, you have to be perfect at all times.
All times.
But no, it's actually, you have to give me the benefit of the doubt. But I am not going to do the same thing for you. Right. So you have to be perfect, whereas I deserve the benefit of the doubt. But, I think that, so much of this, with all these officials that have kind of, and you always see them, like, they'll get caught. It's the gotcha moment with, like, they don't have a mask on, but they're making everyone else do it.
Like Gavin Newsom for the 15th time.
Yeah.
Like, dude, stop.
Yeah. Muriel Bowser just got called out because she went to a wedding and,
right.
And you're making all these little kids wear a mask.
Yeah.
But you're not doing it. It always like if you went to all the kids have to have their masks on, and then, the school board is out partying without it. Now they make sure they have it on during the taped sessions.
Right.
But they don't have it on otherwise. And then, really what they're doing is they're undermining their credibility. So if these things are effective, no one's listening to you.
Right.
Because you've gotten it wrong and you've been hypocritical so many times that no one's like, I'm done with, like, they've really just they've undermined their own credibility so often that I don't believe anything they say.
Well, take California. I mean, Gavin Newsom wonders why he's under a recall election. Mm-hmm. He's been caught, I think, 4 times at events without masks.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, he's put I think 3 of them were during the shutdowns in LA. Yeah. And now they got the mask mandates back in LA. Mm-hmm. And I think he got caught again.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, you don't know when to quit.
Yeah.
And then you wonder why there was 1.5 or 2 million votes to recall you. Mm-hmm. It's like, I bet you all of those signatures weren't Republicans.
Yeah. I don't think there's 2 million Republicans in California.
No. I think some of these people, like, they live with their head in the clouds and they don't. I think a lot of them are just so torn away from reality.
Yeah.
Like a lot of these politicians in D.C., they don't go back to their home states. They barely. I mean, they go for 3 town halls, 4 town halls a year.
Yeah.
Some of them don't do that at all.
Mm-hmm. And that whole thing really goes against the idea of what the House of Representatives especially was supposed to be.
Right.
You know, that was supposed to be like they come into session, they stay there, then they go back and they do whatever their job. Their actual salary isn't that high. It's not really supposed to be a...
Well, it wasn't supposed to be now. It is now.
Yeah.
But Nancy Pelosi is making like $180,000 a year.
Yeah. But when you think about it, she's worth a lot more than that.
Well, because they're not just making $180,000 a year. They, I think because she's speaker, she gets 180 or 190.
Yeah.
I think the regular rank and file probably get like around 150, 140, 150 ish. And I think a lot of them have a lot of money tied up in their political campaigns. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of like if you ever hear some small business guys or some of these YouTube guys, they talk about you should always incorporate yourself, regardless of whether you own a business, because then you put your car in the business name, your house in the business name, and then every single expense is now deductible. Mm-hmm. It's a business. Like if you treat yourself, the politician, as the business, well, now you can earn money from your PAC, your political action campaign. And oh, by the way, I think some of these the Snoops, whatever they are. Mm-hmm. These people, they're starting to look at where the money from these PACs are going. Mm-hmm. Now, there's different rules on what they have to report, but some of them are paying their kids, their spouses, well, or they're paying companies that employ their kids, or their spouses, or their cousins, and there's no shot some of that money's not getting kicked back, somewhere along the line, right? And I don't care if they get a D, R, or I, next to their name. I can almost guarantee it's happening.
Oh, yeah. I would be... In fact, I'd be surprised if it wasn't.
Right.
You know, that someone was on the straight and narrow, up and up, you know, because there's just... They all get in there and they... Like, okay, now this is how it really works.
But then they wonder why nobody trusts them.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, oh, well, why didn't anyone do what I say?
Yeah.
Because you lied about a lot of stuff.
Constantly.
All the time. You know, with Newsom, it's like... How many rules does this dude put in place and then got caught not following them?
Yeah.
Or, you know, Gretchen Whitmer up in Michigan with the no travel thing.
Yeah.
And she went to Florida.
Yep.
Like, well, it was for my mother. Okay, well, you don't think other people have mothers too that live out of state?
Yeah.
Look, you can't do that. Like, if you're going to come off as the sanctimonious one and you put rules in place, if you get caught not following them, I think there should be a rule that says that rule goes away.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you get caught not following a mask mandate, guess what? Mask mandate gone.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Rules for thee, but not for me. Mm-hmm. Nope.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people are tired of it.
A lot of people are.
Yeah. And that's where I get so, you know, because they talked about, what was it, the COVID fatigue. COVID fatigue set in for me about, I don't know, May of 2020.
Right.
I was pretty much done with it. And, you know, I wouldn't say I was being irresponsible, but the way I responded to it is just you can do this, but you have to be distanced and wear masks. I'm like, okay, I'm not doing that.
Right.
I'm not going to go to a bar.
Right.
I'm just not going.
Right.
You can't. You have to abide by all these. You have to get a test before you fly somewhere and do this. Okay, I'm
not flying.
I'm just not doing it. So,
well,
did I not comply, or did I just not do things?
Well, when we were planning our summer vacation, the rules in Massachusetts were much different than they were in Maryland, and we booked our stays, and we said, look, we can cancel up to 30 days out. At 30 days out, if these rules haven't changed, we're just not going. Mm-hmm. And that's what it was. We weren't going to comply with their. It was like you had to quarantine. You go in the state and you stay. You got to quarantine for 14 days. Yeah, I'm not doing that. I'm fully vaccinated. I'm not doing that.
Right, but then here's the thing. The authority to enforce that because all these rules that they put out.
Right.
Now you'll see there's some really bad videos from stuff that was happening in Canada, and the Canadians don't have the protections that we do here. There's, they can kind of, the government can kind of do what it wants, but you heard a couple, like you had the dude that got locked up on the beach for fishing. He was out there by himself, but they closed the beaches, and so he couldn't be there, so they locked him up. Then there was the hairdresser in Dallas that got arrested for opening her hair salon during the lockdown, and that sort of thing. But really, it wasn't wide scale arrests and shutting, kicking the doors into churches and crazy stuff like that.
Right.
Because I think they kind of knew that they could put this stuff out there, but they weren't really laws.
Someone said they weren't enforceable.
Yeah.
Like the stuff that the governors were doing by executive decree.
Yeah.
They weren't laws.
Yeah.
Like,
well, and New York had the same thing where, if you're traveling from out of state, and de Blasio actually tried to set up checkpoints in New York, and then, some staff attorney was like, you should probably shut all of that down. Because you're really getting yourself into, so they kind of knocked it down. But, if you're trying to get to Long Island you have to go through the city. Unless you want to drive way around and take the ferry from Rhode Island, like you have to go through the city to get to Long Island pretty much from anywhere down here. So they were doing stuff like that. And where's the authority come from?
I think each side has their limits, right? I mean, you and I were talking about before we started recording about even Bill Maher.
Yeah.
And talking about the woke Olympics, I believe is what he called it, when he was like, look, at some point, you can't protest everything.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you remember, there's a movie called PSU. It had Jeremy Piven.
Okay.
Early Jimmy Piven. And Jon Favreau.
Okay.
All right. And there's
was
the
it
line,
PCU?
PCU, sorry.
Politically correct
yeah,
university?
sorry, PCU. And David Spade was in it. Mm-hmm. And they created basically a party, and eventually they said, "We're not gonna protest. We're not." Like it was a campus of all everyone protesting everything. Every group had their own protest group, whatever. I guess you had the vegans, the minorities, the preppies, but basically they were like, "We're not gonna protest." And like that became basically that was the protest, but they weren't gonna protest. That's like. At some point, everyone's got their like, all right, enough's enough, right?
Yeah.
Even from our own people, enough.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. You just like, people get that mental fatigue.
Mm-hmm.
And, what if this Delta variant was super strong?
Mm-hmm.
And you needed people not to be fatigued right now.
Yeah.
Well, and like you said earlier, part of the problem is now we don't trust anybody.
Right.
Because the vaccine was politicized.
Yeah.
By both sides. Before the election it was politicized by Democrats, and afterwards it's politicized by Republicans.
Yeah.
And it's like, who are we going to believe?
Right.
Masks work, masks don't work.
Yeah.
Texas and Florida, kids were in school all year. People seem to be doing all right.
Mm-hmm.
Not in schools in the northern states. Well, they were, they had worse numbers, but the kids were all right too.
Well,
because kids stayed home. So it's like, at some point, people were just fed up.
One of the interesting things about the numbers going up during because one of the things they did is they closed the gyms down, and then they went and they allowed, and then they try to keep people in their houses. Well,
2% of people were upset about the gyms.
Yeah.
Like, let's face facts.
Right.
The gym membership, the 99% that don't go didn't care.
Right.
The 1% that go like, oh man, my gym membership, I can't go to the gym, bro.
Get swole, bro.
No.
But the thing is, like, all this stuff they did, don't go outside, no youth sports. Montgomery County went and they put padlocks over the basketball rims. And it just all that was theater. That's all any of that was. But sunlight and being outside is good for you. You force everyone inside, so then it starts spreading around. Now, Florida's going through there's the Delta thing, and then Florida this time of year is super hot and super miserable. So a lot of people stay inside.
Right.
is then in the Northeast, and where we are, in the wintertime, it's super cold. So everyone stays inside.
Yeah.
And it spreads around easier when people are inside. So, and then you have people whose your immune system's a muscle, or like a muscle. It's going to atrophy. It doesn't get any work. So now you've got people who are inside without immune systems that have been, get gradually exposed to different germs or bugs or this or that. So it's not getting any work in. So of course it's going to be worse.
Well, especially when the kids go back to school. Kids spread disease, right?
Oh, the little petri dishes.
Yeah.
They're disgusting.
So it's funny. Like, our oldest went back to school eventually with the 4 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
Within, like, 3 days, we had a virus going through his house.
Oh, yeah.
But, it's like, it's going to happen, but, I mean, we kind of need the germs. We need to get a couple viruses in us to kind of kickstart this immune system back up.
I mean, not that you and I are ever running a marathon.
No.
13 or 26 miles is a long drive. So,
Dude, I cringe at the 13.1 stickers.
Yeah. Why? Where's the 1.3 sticker? I'll do that one.
Is there a 0.3 sticker? I'll take it even lower if I got to. Zero. I actually get a sticker. It says 0.0. Put it on the back of my car.
I've done nothing. But you don't just jump out and run a marathon without training.
Right.
Well, I know one person that did, and she's a fitness freak. But generally, you don't just jump out and run a marathon.
Right.
You start training for that. Well, your immune system's kind of the same thing. Like, you don't just, like, okay, let's not do anything for months, and then, okay, everyone back at it. So, of course, there's going to be germs and bugs spread around, and that's how kids are anyway. Like, my kids go to school, and it seems like for the first, it's just, I can watch it just go through the neighborhood. Like, next door has it, across the street has it. Oh, when's it coming to us? Here we have it now. So
I definitely think that this winter, even if COVID isn't a big thing this winter, and I'm not saying it won't be, I'm just saying if it isn't, I definitely could see that this is being bad cold and flu season in the wintertime for this area. Just because, like you said, people just haven't had the germs.
Yeah.
But, I mean, going back to masks in schools, I mean, obviously, you and I, we only have an opinion, right?
Yeah.
Do I think it's worth it to do masks in schools? My opinion is no.
Yeah.
Not for the kids. Again, everyone always says follow the science, right?
Mm-hmm.
And even when they're saying follow the science, I'm not talking about the science from the last 3 weeks. I'm talking the entire week. We have a year and a half of science right now, as far as what worked and what didn't. And without political glasses on, I wish there were some people, and they should be working for the CDC.
Yeah.
That's why I can't stand political appointees that head up these agencies. It should never be political. But even someone like a Dr. Fauci, like you told me this. No one's heard of this guy before this happens.
Yeah.
Now he's selling books.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and he's making the rounds on the news networks. Like, and by the way, people get paid for that.
Yeah, he's on the cover of magazines. He throws out the first pitch at a Nats game, which was awful.
Right. but he's gonna make money off of this.
Yeah.
And like I said, the first step is the book, which he's putting a book out. He's going to get paid.
Yeah.
We have a year and a half of data now as far as what worked and what didn't work. In fact, you could even say we got close to 20 months instead of 18, but whatever. I digress.
Yeah.
We need someone, and preferably at the CDC, to say, okay, here's the data from all 50 states.
Yeah.
This, state 1 did this. This is the result. State 2 did this. This was the result. These were the deaths per population. Who had the lowest deaths as a percentage of the population?
Yeah.
And let's see what they did. And let's go from state ranked number 1 to state that ranked number 2. Let's see what they did versus the states that were ranked 49 and 50.
Right.
Let's see what worked, because guess what? If people think this is going to be the only pandemic that happens, they're full of crap.
Oh yeah.
This will happen again. Yeah. And I'm not trying to put fear out there. I'm just saying, look, throughout the history of time, viruses come through, and some are more powerful than others.
Yeah.
And this was one that kind of came through and was a pandemic. Great. Yeah. There's going to be another one. Let's see what worked. Let's see what didn't work. And let's see what data can be used maybe toward the next one and what can't.
Yeah.
Now, of course, it's going to be dependent on the virus itself, but like, I just like kind of like when Dave Chappelle and Half Baked was like, when they were in the lab and the guy goes, "Thank you, janitor," and he goes, and Dave Chappelle goes, "Thank you, scientist." Hey, look, scientists need to science the shit out of this.
Yeah.
You know, or what was it? Role models when Sean William Scott goes, "Yeah, Beth, lawyer the shit out of this."
Yeah.
Yeah. So, look, scientists, science the shit out of this.
Yeah.
Like this is your calling card. This is what we need you for.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. This is what you got all those grants for, and the Pell grants, and all the U.S. aid funded research, and all this other stuff. Like, look, a lot of people wonder how scientists make their money. They get a lot of their money through government funded research.
Yeah.
And they get paid salaries out of that. It's not just for beakers and syringes.
Right.
They get paid and their staffs get paid out of this stuff. So, hey, we need you to step up. This was your calling card. And unfortunately, head scientist boy politicized the entire thing.
Yeah.
And gave the whole science community not a great name.
Yeah, because now, like we said before, no one is. I won't say no one. Some people are trusting them, and just blindly going along with it, and other people are like, don't trust them at all, no matter what they say. They could come out and say, hey, the sky's blue and the grass is green, and someone's going to go stick their head out the window and check,
right?
Because they're not trusted, or you know what, they're not even going to check. They're just going to say nope. Like, it came out of their mouth, don't trust them.
Which is even worse.
Yeah. And, that's the problem when you politicize the scientific community, when you weaponize it and you're using it to achieve political ends, because then half of the population doesn't trust you.
Well, they did this with 9/11, too.
Mm-hmm.
The whole weapons of mass destruction thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when the politicalization. we should never have done this podcast because we would never have to tackle that word. But if after the towers come down, like there's like some machine that decides, okay, this is what we want to do. This is what we need to say so we can go do it.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to take the goodwill of the American people so that they won't go and dig any deeper, or they won't ask any questions to find out if this is the right thing we should be doing. They're just going to think that we're right because this is a unifying moment in time.
Mm-hmm.
And the patriotic people are going to get tattoos of the flag on their back just because this happened.
Yeah.
And they're going to believe us no matter what we say.
Yep.
Well, this is like kind of, it's very similar. It's like you're taking advantage of the public trust, and what are you doing with it but just poo-pooing on it?
Mm-hmm.
And then you're going to wonder, well, why doesn't half the population believe us?
Yeah. And there's going to be a time at some point where people are going to have to listen to what they say and trust them. And, what's left? The intelligence community, they undermine all their credibility. Now it's the CDC. Like, do we still trust the weather people? Like, do we still trust NOAA?
No. You wonder why? Because we all look at the weather radar on our phone. No, I don't trust you, weatherman.
Yeah. But like, what's the next crisis that comes along so that someone can take advantage of it? And
I think in America, I think a lot of it's been used up.
Uh-huh.
I don't know how you get people to believe you again.
Yeah.
Especially now, with everything being hyper politicized. I don't know if you can get that back. It's going to have to come from abroad, but no one believes China at all because they corrupted the WHO, right? So now nobody can believe the WHO. Nobody believes the CDC. So either Europe's got to step up, but I heard that, from what I understand, they're doing the same junk in Europe too.
Yeah, and Europe's doing some stuff with the vaccine passports, which
France, that's blowing up over there.
Yeah, which I disagree with the passports. entirely.
As do I.
You know, that's one of those things where I think you're really getting close to that "your papers please" type of nonsense. And I mean, De Blasio today said he wanted to have, you know, people who are vaccinated can do this. You know, businesses should close their doors to non-vaccinated people.
They're doing it on Broadway.
Yeah,
Broadway's opening up for vaccinated people only.
Yeah, yeah,
man.
And you know, like, I don't even know. I'm sure I have an email that says I got vaccinated. And when I find it, like, how hard is that to pull up that Word document and change the thing and start zipping off copies to whoever?
Well, yeah.
So
I mean, you're going to start having fake COVID passports out there,
Yeah.
or like those CDC cards that we got
yeah,
from when we got vaccinated. I'm sure anybody could duplicate that.
Yeah.
Especially if you're going to put it on people's phones. Like if you're going to take, because no one's going to carry around a piece of paper anymore. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Like legit. Where are your papers?
yeah,
No one's going to carry papers around.
yeah,
People barely carry a phone, right? People don't carry. I mean, there are some people that if you got to pay cash somewhere, I'm not shopping there. They only
Yeah.
take cash. You don't take Google Pay or Apple Pay,
Yeah.
or whatever Pay. Well, I'm not shopping there. I only got
Yeah.
my phone on me.
yeah,
You know, especially the fitness bros. They got no room for paper.
yeah.
No, I can carry my phone. That's about it. I don't have any. The pockets in my gym shorts aren't deep enough for anything other than that and my keys.
Yeah, that and this shirt is way too fitted.
I got no.
There's no room in this shirt for nothing but lats.
No room. No room. I'm too swole for my shirt,
Yeah.
bro.
But yeah, I don't like the vaccine passports. I think I think in
Well, where does it stop?
yeah.
Okay. What about flu? What about flu shot passports
Yeah.
too? What about your entire vaccination history going
Yeah.
on that passport?
Yeah.
Or what about what if you got hypertension? You got to put that on. Sickle cell. You got to put
Yeah.
that on.
Yeah.
Anemia. Like where do we stop that?
Yeah.
You know, where do we stop the medical history on that card?
Yep.
I'm just not down with that. I'm not down with that. I'm not down. I'm not about putting scarlet letters on people. We got enough people in this country that'll get vaccinated to get to herd immunity.
And it's,
I'm good with that.
Yeah, and it's also a risk assessment. If someone decides that they don't want to get vaccinated, they're an adult making a choice of their own free will, and they say, "Hey, I don't want to get vaccinated for whatever reason it is." It could be because they're crazy and they think the government implanted a microchip in them, or the 5G, whatever the hell that was.
Listen, if I'm going to chip, it better be 5G. You're not going backward tech on me.
Right, I don't want
You're
3G
You're not
here.
4G in my arm. By the way, you remember that movie with Justin Timberlake? And they had like the numbers, like it was how much time you had left.
Yeah.
Was it timekeeper or something like that? So, but you could give, like if you touch wrist, you could give time to somebody else.
Yeah.
But once your time ran out, you died.
Yeah.
Like, damn.
I
Are we
think
going that way?
The better one is Idiocracy, where they have to get their barcode and he puts his thing in there and he says like "what the f" and his name is "what the f." So everyone goes like "what the f." President Camacho. That's where we're headed.
Great.
But yeah, I don't like the whole idea of it. I think it's super dangerous. It's too much of an intrusion on people's lives. But there's people that are just absolutely willing to just let the government do whatever it wants to do.
Well, and their argument for it is, well, it's protect everybody else. It's to protect everyone else.
Yeah.
Not you. It's not about you. It's about the whole. I hate to break it to these people. We don't live in a communist or socialist society.
Right.
That's not America. If you want that, Canada to an extent, although it's not really Canada, but France and Germany are a little bit more socialist on that scale. Or
Hey,
if you really want someone to
go
run
to
your life,
Cuba.
go to the Middle East.
Yeah.
Hey, they love to, especially if you're a woman.
Yeah. They love to control
They
you.
love to control you over
Yeah,
there.
they'll stone you for looking at a man.
Yeah.
But hey, you know what? 90 miles away, there's Cuba. There's plenty of them that would gladly trade places with you.
Right.
Just go down there.
But so that's well, you're not thinking about the greater good. No, I think I live in America, and I'm allowed to make choices for myself.
Yeah.
And my choices aren't defined by how safe they make you feel, or how comforting you get to be.
Yeah.
That's not America.
Yeah.
And then, of course, their retort is, well, maybe it should be. Well, that's what we vote for.
Yeah.
That's what we go to the polls for. And there's an election there's a major election every 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of that way on purpose.
Yeah.
And for people that think that this is the way things are going, I hate to break it to them. Every 2 years it swings.
Yeah.
My dad always used to tell me that. Like, there was a time when I thought Democrats were never going to lose.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was like the first Obama election. Oh, the Democrats are on the roll. This is it. They got it now. And this is when I had a lot of left-leaning tendencies.
Mm-hmm.
And actually to this day, my thought process is the same as far as my politics, but the parties had moved, right?
Yeah.
So, but I'm thinking, like, back then I remember thinking the Republicans are never going to win again.
Yeah.
This is when the Tea Party started to rise.
Yep.
And we had talked about this before. It was the party that was telling me how to think.
Yeah.
And I didn't see a future where they stopped telling me what to think, and the other party was the one that now they tell me what to think. So, for anyone, I think for people who think that it's all going to be linear, like, nope, like we're taking off like a rocket ship for Democrat only.
Yeah.
For like the next 20, 30 years. It's just never happened that way.
Yeah.
Never.
And, because they got shellacked in 2010.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
then it was, up until now. And even now the Senate is really just it's a tie. But, Republican control. And then, so yeah, it's one of those, it's really an interesting, it just goes back and forth. It's one side goes too far and the middle kind of goes, that's a little bit too far. We're going to go back the other way.
Let me ask you something. There's been a lot of vitriol from each side. When the pendulum does swing back,
mm-hmm.
do you think there's backlash against the folks that were a little bit too aggressive in hammering down like some of the Republican types?
I think there's the ones who are in the safe seats and all that stuff, they're going to be fine.
No, I meant like I don't mean like political.
Mm-hmm.
I mean like out in the real world.
I don't know.
Some people are getting hammered real bad.
Yeah.
Like doxing.
Yeah.
Losing jobs.
Yeah.
Like I think some dude at NBC who did one of the productions for the Olympics, either opening ceremony or something like that. I guess like somebody went through his stuff and found like he bullied someone in 1999 and he was forced to resign.
Yeah.
1999. That's almost 22 years ago.
Yeah.
Forced to resign.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine like the garbage I said in the 90s.
Yeah.
I'd be fired tomorrow if someone could find it.
Yeah.
I mean, luckily back then there was no Twitter or anything, and there wasn't Twitter for that dude either.
Yeah.
It's probably just someone said, "Oh, he bullied me,"
yeah.
Or maybe he bullied someone in a yearbook and they brought out the yearbook and snapped it. Who knows?
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. I don't think that the Republican side is a bunch of virtuous people either.
No.
I definitely think there's going to be backlash swinging back the other way.
Yeah, and that just goes to the whole. It's so juvenile,
mm-hmm.
and when people say, "Oh, this is for all of us," for the COVID safety measures. Well, that's just superficial nonsense. How about we actually really start thinking about each other as a whole, mm-hmm. rather than "Oh, I'm gonna get this guy." Why? What did you achieve? Nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah, absolutely nothing. And I hope that there isn't coming back. That it comes. That the pendulum swings back, and now the people on the right are going after people on the left. I hope that doesn't happen because it's just, when does it end?
It doesn't.
Yeah, and it's like we have a whole generation of a whole bunch of people. They're just babies.
It's a generation of get back.
Yeah.
We're just gonna wait. I'm gonna buy my time until I can get back at you.
Yeah.
It's like great.
Yeah. It's ridiculous, and I hope it doesn't go that way, but I don't have a whole lot of faith that it won't.
No.
So
I just think that this whole conversation stemmed from kids and masks.
Yeah.
We hope you enjoyed this conversation. We hope you like, subscribe, share, comment, rate us on the podcast platforms. We hope you had a great time. Please come back next time, and we will see you later.